Hi everyone. Thanks for joining me for this generative AI tutorial. I'm Dr. Gina, and today we're going to be building on what we covered last time. Let's start with a quick recap of our previous session. We walked through how to create a ChatGPT account, the basics of prompt engineering, how to create a make.com account, and building your first scenario. In today's tutorial, we're going to take that foundation and go further. I'll show you how to use ChatGPT to create a ChatGPT project, and then we'll use that to write email copy for a week-long Black Friday marketing campaign. From there, we'll add the content to a Google spreadsheet, and then finally, we'll connect everything in Make.com to automate the emails through Gmail. Let's dive in. Let's define what a ChatGPT project actually is. A ChatGPT project is basically your workspace inside ChatGPT where you can organize all the important details for a specific goal or campaign. Instead of starting fresh with every prompt, a project lets you store background information, keep your brand details consistent, and build on your work over time. Why is this important? Because as marketers, we're not just creating one-off pieces of content, we're creating entire campaigns. A ChatGPT project keeps everything connected, so your messaging stays consistent, your brand voice doesn't get lost, and you can easily come back to refine or expand on your work. In today's tutorial, we're going to set up a project for our mock brand, Nailed It Hardware, a local hardware store. Inside that project, we'll load our key brand information, and then we'll add all the details for our week-long Black Friday marketing campaign. By the end, we'll have everything in one place, ready for us to use to create email copy. Before we hop into ChatGPT, first we need to prepare some important files, because within our ChatGPT project, we're going to be able to upload some specific information for our brand. Here is how I typically do it. I create a folder that relates to the brand. Within simple text files, I upload the brand story, the mission, the vision, things that are going to be relevant for this project. These are very simple text files. Why do I do this? Well, one, we need to put this information into ChatGPT in some format. I find that having text files are simple and easy. And therefore, if something changes in the future, let's say we have a new brand tagline, I can just update these simple text files and re-upload them into ChatGPT, because these are going to be the source of truth that relates to our brand that ChatGPT is going to be pulling from. Now we are ready to hop into ChatGPT and create our project. First, I'll navigate over here and open the sidebar. Next, I'll go to Create Project. Since this is going to be for a marketing campaign, I like to name it Campaign: and whatever the name of the campaign is. Let's create the project. Here we are in our newly created project. Let's add those important files that I talked about before. I clicked Add Files, and now I'm going to add a file about our address and URL for the location. I'm going to add our brand guidelines. I'm going to add our brand story. I'm going to add our mission and vision and values. And since this is about a week-long Black Friday campaign, which the marketing team has already decided the high-level messaging for each day, I'm going to add that as well. Now we can see we have these 5 files attached to this project. Now let's do a quick test to make sure that ChatGPT does know all the information that we needed to know about our brand. let's ask, what is the mission of the Nailed It brand? We can see here, it's taking a moment. It read the files, and now it's telling us all that information about the Nailed It brand. Great. This is correct based on the information that we provided to ChatGPT. So now, within this project, ChatGPT knows all about this brand. Now, we're going to add another file to this project so that it knows about its role within this project. Let's open our sidebar and click on the three-dot menu that relates to this project. Let's click on Add to Project. Now, just like we did before, let's add a persona. We've added the persona that I've already written in a text file. Let's take a look at this persona by opening up the text file. Here is the persona. We want ChatGPT to act as a savvy marketing copywriter that is skilled in driving results-driven marketing copy, specifically related to digital content. We've given them information about tone and style, their approach, their goals, such as increasing open rates and click-throughs, their strengths. So this is kind of like the idea of who you'd be hiring for. So now that the ChatGPT project knows all about our brand, it has the information about our marketing promotions, and it has a persona, we can start to create our marketing copy. Now, let's take a quick glance at the file that we've already provided to this project about this week-long email campaign. So we're going to be starting it off on November 23rd with a savings message. Then we're going to have Mega Monday, where we want to drive certain category and products. Then we're going to move on to Toolbox Tuesday, Workshop Wednesday, Thankful Thursday, the Black Friday Blowout, and Small Business Saturday. Since ChatGPT knows all this information, we can now work in our project to write copy for each of these. Back within our ChatGPT project for this, let's enter our first prompt. Please create email campaign copy for November 23rd. Provide 3 subject lines, 1 pre-header, and the complete body copy. So ChatGPT is going to review all those files and its persona and the prompt, and it's going to build on that. We now have 3 subject lines: kick off Black Friday week, 50% off all tools, start strong, your project ahead. All of this looks good and is on point based on the information we have provided. One thing, we don't want to have any emojis. That's just something the boss doesn't really like. So let's ask ChatGPT with another prompt to remove those. Please remove the emojis. Okay, we could continue to make any tweaks, but this looks like a good email. Now let's choose the subject line. Yeah, I think we're going to go with number 1. Let's use the first subject line for this email. Now we have our finalized email for November 23rd. Okay, now let's repeat the process for the next day. So please create email copy for November 24th. Notice the first time it generated emails, it gave us emojis, but we gave it feedback that our boss didn't like emojis. So it's remembering that information in this project, and for our November 24th email, it didn't provide any. Let's tell it which subject line we like. Again, let's go with subject line number 1. We like subject line 1 for this email. Okay, great. Now for simplicity, and since this is only a tutorial, we are going to give it one last prompt to generate the rest of the emails. Here, we're just going to ask for one subject line. So create the email campaign copy for November 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th. You can see here, it's referencing the files that we put into its project folder. And while it used emojis for us to denote the different copy. It did not put emojis in the emails. Oh, and it also realized that I forgot November 29th. Yes, let's do that too. It knew that in the project folder, we had a plan for November 29th. So it reminded me that I had forgotten to put that prompt in. Great. Now we have all 7 emails. Now we want to take this information and get it into the format of a spreadsheet so that we can put it into a Google Sheet. So I'm telling ChatGPT that the goal is to take the email copy and put it into a Google spreadsheet. I need the email subject in the first column and the email body in the second column. So it's going to think about this and then it's going to create a spreadsheet. Let's download the file by clicking on it. Let's go to Google Sheets. Let's add a blank spreadsheet. And now let's open the file. We're going to choose Upload, and we're going to drag the file into Google Sheets. And here is all of our information, the subject line for our email and the body for our email. Great. Now that we've created our project in ChatGPT and exported our email copy to a spreadsheet, which we've put into Google Sheets, we are now going to transition to working in Make.com. This is the final scenario we're going to build in Make.com. We're going to create a module that gets our email copy, the subject, and the body. We're also going to get some existing emails for our customers, and then we're going to send these emails. And we're only going to send them on the days that they need to be sent. First, let's do a little cleanup. Here's the file that we just created with the subject and the body, and it has a really long title. Let's just make it something simple like email. Also, I always like to rename the sheet, so let's just call this email data. And then we're going to add a column on the left because we need to have a date for our emails to be sent. So the first one goes out on November 23rd, and then the last one goes out November 29th. But we need to test this scenario today, so let's just start with today's date. Now we need to format our dates for the preferred date format that Make.com prefers. I'm going to highlight our dates. I'm going to go to the Format menu. I'm going to choose Number because dates are numbers. And here we have Date, but I'm going to say Custom Date and Time. Make prefers year, month, day. So let's do this. And now we have that, and click Apply. Okay, everything is good in our email spreadsheet.
Let's also look at our customer spreadsheet. So here we have all of the customers that we're going to be emailing. Now let's go back into Make and make this automation. Now let's go to make.com and log in. Remember in our last session, we already created these logins and we've already established the connection between our Google accounts and Make. That is critical to be able to do what we're about to do. Since we've already done that, let's click Create Scenario. And now we have a blank scenario that we can start with. Let's add our first module. We want a Google Sheet, which I can click on here. If I didn't see that, I could just search apps or modules. But since it's right here, let's click on this. Now it's asking me which type of Google modules. There's a variety of them. We want to search for rows. Okay, now that I've clicked on search for rows, let's customize this module. Let's just double check to make sure that we are completely connected to Google. Okay, I've gone through that reauthentication process. It's going to pull from my drive. And we want the spreadsheet called email. We want the sheet name email data. Now it's going to ask us, are there headers in our table? And yes, there are. So we want yes. It wants the columns range to search. Well, we don't have much data, so let's just simplify it to A to Z. And then it wants to know what to filter on. See, it's loaded the different columns in our spreadsheet. And what's important right now is we need to filter on date because we only want to send this on the date that the email is supposed to go out, so that each day during our Black Friday promotion week, this scenario will run by itself in the background. And if the date equals the today's date, so the date in the spreadsheet says the date that this email is supposed to go is November 23rd, and it is November 23rd, this will then create that email and send it. So let's put in date. And then here we need to tell it how to make that equal to today's date. There are a couple different ways to do this. We're going to start by clicking here and we're going to enter an expression. If you don't want to enter the expression, you can actually just click here and there's a little AI feature. It's kind of like ChatGPT, but it's a different generative AI capability where you can actually just describe what you're looking to do and then it will generate the expression or code for you. But you get a limited amount of that. And so we're just going to copy and paste the correct code. Let me show you what that looks like. This is a zoomed in version of the filter. So we've got date A. We want our text operator equal to, and we're going to put in format date, now, semicolon, and then the date format, which remember, we've already put our dates into that format in our Google Sheet. So let's start by typing format date, and it automatically comes up. And then we want to put in a now feature because we want the date to be today's date. Oops, let's put that there. And then we want to put the date format, year, month, day. Great. Now let's save that. Let's also save our scenario. Let's name our scenario Black Friday week emails. And then make does not have an autosave, so it's very important that you save. It also doesn't have an undo feature, but what it can do is it'll go back to a previous version. So it's really important to save. Let's test our module by clicking Run Once. Okay, it has run and it is pulling all the information that we requested. We're getting the date, we're getting the subject, we're getting the body. That's awesome. So now we can pass this on to additional modules. Okay, let's close that. And now let's add another module. So I'm going to click on the plus sign. And again, we are looking for a Google Sheets module. And we also want to do a search rows module again. All right, we don't need to reconnect. We're already connected. It's looking for our drive. This time we want our other spreadsheet called customers because that's where we have our customer emails stored. Again, it has headers. It's a small data sheet, so we can just do A to Z. And we don't need to filter this time because we just want to load all those customer email addresses. Let's click Save. Let's save our project again since we've added this second module, and let's run it one more time to test it. Okay, we now see that we have data in both modules. So now we've loaded this customer data, the name, the email address, the home address. This is more information than we need, but that's okay. Let's close that and let's add our final module. It's going to be a Gmail module. So we're searching and we want to send an email. All right, so now who do we want to send it to? We need to add recipients. We're going to click here and it's going to show us all the information that we have loaded from our Google Sheets. And so we want to send it to the email address. And so this is going to pull from that field. For our subject, we want to pull from the subject for the emails. And then the content, we want to pull the body. Now let's save that. And again, save our project. Let's run our scenario. Okay, it has sent it to two different emails, which is exactly the amount of emails that we had in that file. And let's go and see the email. Here is our email. It's to me and it says kickoff Black Friday week, 15% off all tools. And so we have this email subject to the email we wanted to send it to with the copy. Now let's finish up this scenario by telling it how we want it to run. So we can say we want it to run in every day. And so we can have it run at, let's just say, we want this to get people very excited about our promotions. So let's have it set for 7 a.m. And so it's going to run and it will then send those emails during Black Friday week if the date equals today. So to recap everything we've done in this tutorial, we wanted to create marketing copy for every day to celebrate Nailed It's Black Friday week promotions. We did that by putting some information into a ChatGPT project that told us about the brand's mission, the brand's story. We added a persona that was a savvy copywriter. And then we also put in the high level what we wanted each of those days' promotions to be. After we created all that, we put it into a spreadsheet. we put that spreadsheet into a Google Sheet. We then went into make.com and created a simple scenario that would load that spreadsheet. It would load a spreadsheet with our customer email addresses, and then it will send an email if today's date equals the date in that email. So I hope you found this really helpful as a quick and easy way to automate marketing emails.